I waited outside the hotel, my pulse hammering as I watched them vanish through the grand entrance. The neon lights above flickered, casting a dull glow on the sidewalk where I stood frozen. My worst fears had materialized before my eyes, unraveling everything I believed about my marriage. A bitter taste filled my mouth as I clenched my fists, forcing myself to breathe. If I stormed inside now, what would I gain? An ugly confrontation? A heated argument in a hotel lobby? No. That wasn't my style. Olivia had played her game well, but she had underestimated the man she had betrayed. Instead of acting impulsively, I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture of them walking in together. Evidence. Proof of her disloyalty. My fingers trembled slightly, but I steadied myself. This wasn't about emotions anymore, it was about control. If she thought she could keep playing me for a fool, she was in for a rude awakening. I turned away from the hotel, shoving my hands into my pockets as I walked back to my car. The city buzzed around me, people laughing, cars honking, the scent of street food filling the night air. It was just another evening for everyone else, but for me, everything had changed. The drive home felt surreal. Our house, once a place of warmth and love, felt like a stranger's dwelling. I stepped inside, inhaling the familiar scent of lavender and vanilla, the fragrance she always used to make the place feel inviting. Now, it smelled like deceit. I made my way to the bedroom, staring at our perfectly made bed. Had she thought of him while lying next to me? Had she smiled at me in the morning after spending the night in his arms? The thought made my stomach churn, but I forced myself to remain calm. I needed a plan. Confrontation was too easy. She needed to feel what I felt. She needed to taste betrayal the way she had served it to me. And so, I started plotting. I took my time, gathering information, learning her patterns. She wasn't just reckless, she was confident in her ability to deceive. That would be her downfall. A week passed, and she continued her charade. She kissed me before leaving for another girls' night, and I pretended to believe her. I even smiled, watching her walk out the door in her red dress, the same one she had worn the night I caught her. It was almost amusing, the way she thought she had everything under control. The moment she left, I followed. This time, I didn't just watch from a distance. I got closer. I parked in the same lot, walking through the same lobby, blending into the background. She didn't see me as she checked in, her laughter light, her eyes filled with anticipation. I followed her upstairs, waiting a few minutes before stepping into the hallway. The door clicked shut behind her, locking her inside her fantasy. I leaned against the wall, exhaling slowly. She had no idea I was here. She had no idea I was about to turn her world upside down. The morning after our dinner, Olivia acted as if nothing had changed. She kissed me on the cheek, her lips warm but empty of meaning. "I'll be late tonight," she murmured, slipping into her heels by the door. "Girls' night again." I chuckled softly. The audacity. "Have fun," I said, watching her closely. Her eyes flickered with something unreadable. Doubt, maybe. But she quickly masked it with a smile before stepping out. As soon as the door shut, I set my plan in motion. I had already planted the first seeds of uncertainty in her mind. The late nights, the hushed phone calls, the guarded expressions, I made sure she felt exactly what I had. If she wanted a game, I would make sure I played it better. That afternoon, I made my way to Daniel's office. The same man who had spent months sneaking around with my wife now welcomed me with a firm handshake, completely unaware of what I knew. "Good to see you, man," he said, leaning back in his chair. His expensive suit, custom-tailored to perfection, reminded me of the arrogance he carried. "How's Olivia?" The nerve. I grinned. "She's great. We've been, reconnecting." His smile faltered for a split second before he forced it back into place. "That's good to hear." I leaned forward, elbows on his desk. "You know, I really appreciate having a boss who's not just a mentor but a friend. Someone I can trust." Daniel shifted in his seat, adjusting his tie. "Of course." His discomfort delighted me. "I have a favor to ask," I continued smoothly. "Olivia and I are planning something special. A surprise getaway. She has no idea." He raised an eyebrow, clearly caught off guard. "Oh, yeah," I nodded. But I need your help. His fingers drummed against his desk. What kind of help? I smirked. I want to make sure she's free that weekend. You know how work can get in the way. Could you, I don't know, make sure she doesn't have any sudden obligations? The color drained from his face. He understood the underlying message. Checkmate. That evening, Olivia came home later than usual. I was waiting for her on the couch, pretending to scroll through my phone. She hesitated at the door, watching me. Long night? I asked, not looking up. She nodded, setting her purse down. Yeah, just a lot of catching up with the girls. I smiled, stretching. Glad you had fun. Oh, by the way, I planned something special for us. Her expression changed. Special? A weekend away. Just the two of us. She swallowed hard. When? This weekend. I watched as her mind raced. Excuses formed behind her eyes, but she couldn't use them. Not without exposing herself. Oh, that's great, she finally said. I stood, closing the distance between us. I want us to reconnect, Liv. No distractions. Just you and me. I could see the panic behind her smile. She had no idea this was a trap. The drive to the resort was quiet. Olivia sat beside me, staring out the window, her fingers drumming against her lap. I could tell her mind was spinning, trying to find a way out, but she was trapped. The resort was luxurious, exactly the kind of place she would have chosen for one of her business trips. I had done my research well. The irony was delicious. As soon as we checked in, I watched her from the corner of my eye. She pulled out her phone, likely texting Daniel. I had no doubt he was panicking. She turned to me, forcing a smile. I'm going to freshen up before dinner. Take your time, I replied smoothly, watching as she disappeared into the suite's bathroom. I took out my own phone, opening the app connected to the hidden cameras I had planted weeks ago. Every video, every whisper, every moment of betrayal, I had it all. By the time we sat down for dinner in our private dining area, Olivia's nerves were showing. She barely touched her wine, eyes darting around as if waiting for something to go horribly wrong. I smiled, leaning forward. Relax, sweetheart. This is supposed to be a weekend about us. She forced a laugh. Of course. I just feel a little off tonight. I chuckled. Maybe this will help. I pressed a button on the remote beside me. The screen behind her flickered to life. And then, her world collapsed. At first, she didn't react. The image on the screen was too shocking for her brain to process. But as the reality of what she was seeing sank in, her wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering against the table. She turned to me, her face drained of color. What is this? Your affair, I said calmly. Every moment, every lie, every betrayal, all here for you to watch. Her breath hitched. Please, I held up a hand, silencing her. No more lies. No more excuses. You played your game well, Olivia. But now it's my turn. Tears welled in her eyes, but I felt nothing. You thought I was clueless, I continued. That you could sneak around, laugh behind my back, and get away with it. She shook her head. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, I interrupted. But you see, Olivia, you underestimated me. I let you dig your own grave. And now, I leaned back, savoring the moment. Now, you get to live with the consequences. She sobbed, reaching for me. Please. I love you. I made a mistake. I laughed, shaking my head. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. Over and over again. I stood, tossing a key card onto the table. The suite is yours for the night. Enjoy it. It's the last thing you'll ever have from me. Then, without looking back, I walked away, leaving her with nothing but the wreckage of her own making. I drove away from the resort, the weight of years of lies lifting from my chest. The road stretched ahead, dark and endless, but for the first time in a long while, I felt free. The past didn't own me anymore. Olivia's betrayal had defined my pain, but now it would define her regret. I wasn't done yet. Back in the city, I arrived at our home, soon to be mine alone. Everything had already been set in motion. Olivia had no idea that while she was busy playing her game, I had been preparing my final move. The divorce papers were waiting on the kitchen counter, along with something more personal, a collection of printouts. Screenshots of her texts with Daniel. Time-stamped hotel receipts. Photos of them together, oblivious to the fact that they were being watched. And, the best part, copies had been sent to Daniel's wife. I sat back, sipping a glass of whiskey as I imagined the chaos unfolding. Daniel's marriage was about to implode, his carefully built reputation going up in flames. He wouldn't just lose his wife, he'd lose his career, his standing, everything he had taken for granted. Olivia, on the other hand, would return home to nothing. No husband. No money. No safety net. I had already drained our joint accounts, legally, of course. Every asset in my name had been locked away, every shared investment liquidated. She had chosen another man over her husband, and now she would see what it felt like to be truly alone. As I waited, the front door creaked open. Olivia stepped inside, her face streaked with dried tears, her makeup ruined. She looked around, confusion and fear settling in. "Where is everything?" she whispered. I stood, crossing my arms. "Gone. Just like us." She turned to me, desperation flashing in her eyes. "You can't do this. We can fix this. I made a mistake, but I love you." I laughed, shaking my head. "No, Olivia. You loved the security I gave you. The comfort. The home." I gestured around the empty space. "But love. That's not what you felt for me. If it was, you wouldn't have thrown it away." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I was stupid. I was selfish. But I never stopped loving you." I tilted my head. "You know what's funny? I used to believe that. I used to think love was enough to forgive anything." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "But love without loyalty is worthless." She reached for me, but I stepped back. "I left you something," I said, gesturing to the counter. "Papers. Sign them." Her breath hitched as she saw the divorce documents. "Please," she whimpered. "Don't do this." I smirked. "Oh, I'm not doing anything. You did this to yourself." The realization hit her like a wrecking ball. She sank to the floor, sobbing, clutching the papers in shaking hands. I grabbed my jacket, heading for the door. Before leaving, I turned back one last time. "You played your game well, Olivia," I said, my voice calm. "But you forgot one thing." She looked up, mascara running down her cheeks. "What?" I smirked. "I always win." Then, without another word, I walked out, never looking back.